In this tutorial, we're going to explore a fundamental concept in Python in programming, file handling. File handling is an essential part of any programming language. It allows us to interact with files on our computers, which is important for reading data, storing information, logging, and more. In Python, file handling is performed using the built-in open function. The open function is used to open a file, and it takes two arguments, the file name and the mode. The mode indicates how we want to interact with the file. The modes can be R for reading, W for writing, A for appending, and X for creating a new file. Let's look at an example. So as you can see, I have this text file example.txt. Any file that ends with txt is just a raw text file. So I can close this, and let's do an open. Let's open that file. So we set file equal to open, and then we say example.txt, so that's the file name. This works because we're in that directory, but if we were not in a directory, we would have to enter the file path. And then we will just type the mode in a string. So here we get R, and there are a lot of modes. So I just gave you a very, very short list of them. But if you look at all of these modes here. There are so many in here, and they all have to do with just how you're writing the file and things like that. And now we'll say content is equal to the returned value of file, because open returns an object for the file, and so now file is an object, so we can say file.read, because we're calling file's read method, so this will return all text inside the file. Then we can just print content if we wanted, and then we actually have to close the file, so we'll do file.close. We have to close the file always after we're done using it with the close method. This cleans up all resources. Try not to forget about this line. Okay, let's run this. And here we ran our program. We got, hello, this is a file I just created. This is line 2. That's exactly what I put in example.txt, which is the file we just read. To write a file, we use the W mode. Be careful, this will overwrite any existing content in the file. For this, instead of using .read, we use .write. So let's just redo this. Say file is equal to open, and then example.txt. And then we will use the W method, which is for write. Next, we will say file.write, and then we'll just say what we want to say. So hello world instead of what we had before. And then now we'll say file.close. So we run this. We don't get any output. This that you see here is just part of the line that's used to run the Python file. Since it's zoomed in, it overflowed over there, but as you can see, we get no output. And if we were to look at example.txt, now it says hello world instead of what it said before, because we just wrote to that file. If we want to add content to the file without deleting the existing content, we can use append mode. So let's set file equal to open example.txt, and we'll use the append mode. Next, we will write to the file, and we don't have to change this method because .write actually just reflects what mode we're in. So if we were in read mode, which is R that I showed you before, write wouldn't work. But with what write does when we're in append mode is it just appends stuff to the end of the file. So now I can say what we want to say. We can add a new line here and say hello world, I guess, again. We'll add another one, but this time we'll have an exclamation point so you can see the difference. We can save this, and actually first we have to do file.close, and then we can do that. Alright, here we go. And let's check the file. Now it says hello world twice. One with an exclamation point, one without it. Now let's look at a safer way to handle files using the with keyword, which will automatically close the file even if exceptions occur. So when you're actually trying to open the file or stuff like that, and let's say that we had file is equal to open, and let's say we were writing some stuff, and somewhere in here an error happened before we were able to close the file, that's not very good because the file would stay open, which means that we didn't clean up the system resources for this file, and it's just very important to do this. So with the with keyword, it closes it no matter what, if we got an error or not. So we say with open example.txt, and then we can say comma R, and then we'll say as file. So this time we are saying we're gonna open this as the variable file. And we'll say content is equal to file.read. And then here we'll say print content. We run this, and it prints the content. We didn't need to close this file explicitly, because Python took care of it for us with this with statement. When we are reading the file, we are only able to read it and we can't write to it. When we had the W mode, we were only able to write to it and we were not able to read to it. Now, if you wanted to be able to read and write to a file, what we could do is we could say with open, and then we will say example.txt, and we will set this to R+, which will make it so that we can allow both reading and writing operations on a file. If this file doesn't exist, it will raise a file not found error. So if I did example1.txt, right, I could say contents is equal to file.read, and then print contents. And so here we can run this, right? And it says file not found error. And so what this method does is, if it exists, it allows us to edit the file. But if we did W+, this allows the same thing except for the fact that if it doesn't exist, it'll create the file. And so if I run this, we don't get anything because the file has nothing inside it. And here's example1.txt that was just created from this, and there's nothing in it. So the difference between R+ and W+ is that R+ doesn't create a new file, and W+ does create a new file, but will overwrite the existing file, just like W did, like I showed you. So those are the most common modes for the open function in Python.